Thank you, Acting President, and I'm very pleased to rise to speak to Mr Meddick's motion today. And I agree with Ms Crozier. I think it's an extremely good motion to be debating today, and I've been really moved by quite a few of the contributions. As we know, I mean, family violence is such a scourge on our society, and Ms Crozier just gave some statistics there, but, you know, when I just think of that, on average, one woman is killed by a partner every week, that's just too shocking. And in reflecting on Mr Meddick's motion around the impact that family violence has on animals, when I was first elected and I wanted to get to meet all of the organisations in my electorate, I went and visited all of the animal shelters and the RSPCA, and I went and visited all of them. And I recall having a conversation that came out of the blue with the manager at Lort Smith saying, you know, Fiona, sometimes we have to pull someone aside because we know that dog has been beaten. We know that, and quite often we see the fear in the more likely the woman there. And they said there's been times when we've found reason to pull the woman into a room on her own and have that conversation. And so we know that, you know, it should send alarms when we see animals that have been harmed coming into our vets and into our vets and into our hospitals. That everybody calls the animal part of the family. It's always part of the family. It's our furry babies. He's like a member of the family. We've lost our member of the family, and that is so true. And, you know, in part it is reflected in the Family Violence Protection Act, but I think it is a very good time to be reviewing that, to look at how that coercement is used and how family pets or companions or animals are used in the coercement of largely women. But, you know, family violence affects a lot of people, and in fact, during COVID, I was speaking to one of the frontline organisations, First Steps, and they said during COVID they were incredibly surprised by the number of men who started calling, and it would appear was a lot of men had moved back home, and they had moved home back with parents, and there was violence in those homes, and sometimes it would be that sons had moved home and there was violence against the father, and it was an extreme violence. So to be calling First Steps is a point when you fear for your life, and so we're trying to address everything to stop the scourge of family violence, to try and eliminate it in our community. We don't have enough refuges. We know that. We don't. It is very hard, and we heard this during the homelessness inquiry, that when someone is escaping family violence and they have nowhere to go, particularly when they have a pet, particularly when they have an animal, that there is nowhere to go, so they must stay where they are or move into their car. And we heard that so many times because refuges couldn't take pets. And I know that's not necessarily part of this motion, but it's certainly something that we saw and that we need to see a lot more, that companion animals are included in our homelessness strategy, that are included in our housing around family violence, in those refuges, in moving people into housing. Because as Mr Meddick spoke in his contribution about people who don't want to leave home because they don't want to leave their pets, and they know that if they do, something terrible could happen to that family member, and so they don't leave, or if they do, something terrible does happen. So I'm pleased in my electorate we've got the Keeping Our Pets Safe, and that's a program that has been adopted through Hume, Whittlesea, Darebin, Moreland and Yarra Council, and it works with the family police, the Victorian Police Family Violence Advisors, and they also work with Safe Steps and Women's Health in the North. And they recognise the importance and the effect that threats on family animals can have. And in fact, going back to Lord Smith, who offers accommodation to support animals who are part of a family fleeing family violence, and they've actually been doing this for over 20 years. And another shout out would be to the North Metropolitan Victims Assistance Program, which operates through Merry Health, and that works to build networks across the Northern Metropolitan councils, encouraging and educating councils to support families needing exit strategies, and that includes those companion animals. So I know that there's other people who would like to speak. I know that this is an issue that certainly my team and the people in my office were very engaged with. They were really, this is something that people, it's so acute because people know the love that they have for their companion animal. They know the love that they had, that they grew up with those pets, that it's so hard to imagine having to leave it or having to put your family member at risk. So I think also we would like to see some other areas where this can be expanded, and that's in looking at caravan parks, rooming houses and places like that that would also accept pets. I commend the motion.